Hey, Mr. Mayor. All right, we up online. I'll call the meeting to order. And I see we have Councilman Seekings on. I'm gonna ask Councilman Seekings to bring a few words if you can.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm glad to be back.
Great.
Let us take a moment of prayer.
All right.
Heavenly Father, as we set about to do the work of the city, let us keep in mind those who rely and trust in us to do the best that we can, and never let out of our hearts and our minds those less fortunate, struggling with ill health or tragedy in their family. Let us all work together to be the best that we can be, to make Charleston a place that we all can be proud of and wake up every day and say, amen, we live here.
Amen. Thank you, Councilman. The chair entertain a motion to approval of the April 24th meeting.
So moved.
Properly moved and seconded. I had two voices there. Any questions on those minutes? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Mr. O'Brien, we got acceptance and dedication of a right of way on Daniel Island. You want to address that for us?
You muted, Tom.
Yeah, you're muted.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. Yes, sir. This is on Daniel Island, 4th Streets. We're accepting its parcel FF Phase 1, and all have been constructed, and we recommend acceptance into the city's maintenance system.
So move.
Properly moved and
Second.
seconded. Any discussion on that right of way? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Mr. O'Brien, temporary encroachments, F1 through 10. Anything out of
No,
the
sir. Nothing out of the unusual. We have some irrigation, some fences, a right angle sign, and some pavers. All have been reviewed by staff and recommended for approval, and we would just give them to the committees for information only.
All right, thank you, sir. Item G1, environmental update. Mr. Althoff.
Mr. Chairman, before we do that, I just would like to tell the committee
Sure.
tomorrow afternoon we're going to be opening the bids on the Beresford Creek Bridge replacement. So I just wanted to let the committee know that, and we'll get that information to you guys as soon as we get the bid opening.
That would be really good. I know Councilman Greg would be real interested in that one.
He's very happy. He's been a big help. He's been a really big
Yes,
help.
he will.
Helping that. So, and I'm going to turn it over to Matt now.
All right, thank you, Mr. O'Brien. Mr. Althoff, you're up.
Good afternoon.
Look like you in a fog somewhere, man.
Yeah, the window behind me is not doing me any favors, is it?
Yeah.
So
we gotta get you an LED light bulb, man.
I know I'm gonna have to do something. Environmental service ran on time last week. We didn't have any issues. Garbage and trash both, street sweeping. We'll be bringing you guys something, not tomorrow, but in a couple weeks when you guys meet at council for an approval of a intent to buy for the 3 knuckle booms. If we don't get the order in, we will not receive them next year. So we'll be bringing that to you guys here in a couple weeks for you guys' approval. So that way we can keep making that change over to the knuckle booms away from the claws.
So thank you for that. I got to tell you, I live in an area where I see St. Andrews PSD knuckle booms going by, and then I'll see our trash truck with the crab claw behind it.
Yep.
So that's good news.
We got 5 now, and this will give us 8 at the end of this year, and then the other. So we'll be on pace to get to the 17 that we need in 2025 to fully get away from the all but 2 claws. So
Thank you for all you're doing. Any questions from committee members? Mr. Mayor.
And Matt, all of these new ones we're buying are the ones that have the console inside, so you don't have to get in and out of the truck to operate the boom. Is that correct? Hopefully.
yeah, yep, that's the all-weather cab that we've been buying. We bought the first one last year. We placed an order for 3 this year, and then the intent to buy will be for 3 more in 24.
And y'all, they're a little more expensive, but if you just watch that whole operation of making one stop and the driver having to climb down, climb back up, climb down, climb back up to make one stop, it really is going to save some time over long run.
I agree. Probably help out with workers' comp too.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. Any more information or questions for Mr. Althoff? Again, thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Mr. Fountain, is he on?
Mr. Chairman, I'm sitting in for
Oh, you're
Mr.
here.
Brown today.
Okay. All right, Mr. Captain Kirk. Mr. Kirk is in. H1, approval of letter intent for brick arches. You want to touch bases on that?
Yes, sir. Be happy to. This is a request for approval, or we're recommending approval of a letter of intent with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers for the city to act as a local sponsor of a $5 million appropriation request by the Corps to rehabilitate brick arches in the city of Charleston for drainage improvement. If appropriated, the city would be responsible for a 25% local match, with 75% of funding being provided through the federal government. The brick arch rehabilitation pilot project at Limehouse, Logan, and Cumming Streets has been going well. It's been demonstrated to provide a substantial drainage improvement while also significantly reducing the risk of sinkholes in those areas where repair work has been accomplished. Approval would require, or would allow, the city to use $375 million of funding from the Corps, and it would help us to effectively leverage $125 million of the city's money from the drainage fund.
Okay. I remember Mr. Mayor talking about this. You want to touch bases on this? I think it's a great idea to get that grant. You want have any words to add to that, Mr. Mayor?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I think in addition to the low battery seawall that Councilmember Seeking shares with me, that this is one of our favorite projects. It's one of mine because we're, really fully converting old infrastructure into meaningful, usable infrastructure for today. And this original authorization, by the way, I'll repeat, I may have to do it tomorrow night just because I feel credit is due. Congresswoman Mace put in this authorization for us to have the opportunity for these projects. So you put in the authorization, then you need the Corps to partner with us to put in for the appropriation to get the actual funds to do a project. And this is one of those cases, Mr. Chairman, where every dollar we get, to take care of this project means, in a way, we're saving city drainage fund dollars that we can spend in other places that might not be eligible for a grant of some kind. And then lastly, I wanted to thank Senator Graham because he's on the Appropriations Committee up there. And so his office helps us marshal through now that we take it to an appropriation. His office has been most helpful in working with us. So all of our delegation been helpful, but on this matter, Congresswoman Mace and Senator Graham really deserve some credit.
Thank you for the information. Any input from any other council member? Look forward to hearing that tomorrow night. Councilmember Shea.
Yeah, so Steve, would you mind just going back over those numbers one more time? And we've been the beneficiary of how much of this grant?
Yes, sir. So it's a $5 million appropriation, and that'll be $375 million will be coming from the Corps, and the city is expected to put in $1.25 million to 25-75 match.
If I might point out, in fact, we're spending that much already on the project. So it's almost like using what we're spending as our match.
Yep.
Right.
And for people who are listening in, this was sort of a discovery of sorts of this archway and the work that it produces and the benefit it has. Just is very important to the peninsula part of the city, as to what this archway helps us do. So hats off to everybody for getting this thing accomplished.
I agree. So we have a motion for approval. Oh, Councilmember Seeking.
Just very briefly, Mr. Chairman, thank you. I mean, this project has been really an amazing project. If you haven't seen pictures of the before and after, and that Limehouse Street, Cumming Street corridor. It's really impressive to see. These are brick arches that were built in the 1850s. The base of them is wood, and that wood is still in pristine condition because it's been damp over the course of all these years. And then a lot of those are double brick arches. And not only did it provide, when they're cleaned out appropriately and properly, great drainage, they also, when they're there, they're holding up the roads in a lot of places as well. So it's really, for lack of a better word, and not very articulate, but it's a super cool project. And like I said, if you haven't seen the pictures or been out to see the work that's getting done, do it. They're right now at the corner of Cunning and my street, Montague Street, and working hard. And I think any more appropriation we can get, Mr. Mayor, will allow them to keep going. I think we've got enough money just barely. Steve, correct me if I'm wrong about this. I think we have enough money just barely to get to Calhoun Street, and then we're going to sort of rethink the whole thing. So really incredible project. It works. It takes old infrastructure and modernizes it, fixes it up, and the relief has been really dramatic. Limehouse Street, that used to be one of the worst flooding places, just in a little bit of rain, drains beautifully now. So very worthy endeavor to go chase after any federal money that we can get for this. And as the mayor said, I mean, we're already spending it anyway. So it's sort of like going to get some money we already spent. So anyway, thank you for y'all's hard work, Steve.
Let me ask, after it's all finished, do we put a pipe through it or what? Gravity flow?
No, it's just cleaning them out and then repointing and resetting the bricks so it's as it was built back in 1850. And Steve will jump in. The other thing that's happened is, over the course of time, from collateral sources laterally, there's been a lot of punctures in those brick arches from other utilities, particularly gas and sewer. So they go in and patch those up, shore those up, clean it out. If I think about it tomorrow, Mr. Chairman, I'll bring some pictures. It's really dramatic that if you stand, the way those brick arches were designed, they were designed so a human being could actually stand in them and clean them out. They're about 5 to 5.5 feet tall. And in a lot of instances, the residue and debris in those arches was 4.5 up to 5 feet high, completely blocking them. And then in places where it wasn't blocking, they were collapsing or had holes in the side. So water was going nowhere or everywhere, but not what it was really intended to go. So it's like I said, it's super cool what they've done. And then what they do is they spray gunite in the underbelly of it, the underside, to shore it up and strengthen it.
Man, that'd be great. Maybe we can get some pictures on the big screen.
I'll bring a couple. I'll bring a couple tomorrow. I've got some really cool ones.
Good deal.
Before and after.
Good deal. Mr. Mayor, I saw your hand.
So one other aspect we haven't talked about very much, we have a lot of attention right now to converting those septic tanks over on James Island to improve water quality over there. But I'm pretty sure, Steve, we've found some sewer lines that were either busted or either never properly converted from when we went to our modern sewage system. And so there was some of that going on too. And as we go through each tunnel, we're correcting anything along the way, of course, that we find.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good deal. So it's been probably moved and seconded. We've had discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any opposed? Thank you. All right, H2, Mr. Kirk, update on stormwater capital project pipeline.
Yes, sir. So Mr. Fountain asked me to kind of give you an update, kind of re-explain, because I'm pretty sure that he's brought this to this committee before, explain how our project pipeline works. And I believe this came about because Councilmember Shade had requested an update on where the West Pawnee project stands right now. So let me go through the pipeline explanation here, and then we'll talk briefly on the West Pawnee project. So the purpose of the pipeline is so that we always have projects in various stages of production. It helps to reduce or eliminate any work gaps, and it also very effectively helps to smooth out cash flow for projects. Generally, design is longer in time and there's a lower cost. And then the construction phase of the project is generally shorter, but there's a higher cost to it. So by having a number of projects in both stages at all times, it'll balance the time, it'll balance the cost, and it also balances the workload for the project managers. And if you give me a second here to share my screen. Let me go with something else real quick. Give me a second. There we go. That's what I want. Okay. Can you all see the spreadsheet?
Yeah.
Okay. So this shows how projects are split up in design and construction. The green cells on top show the design. The blue cells on the bottom show the projects that are currently in construction, were in construction, or plan to be in construction. So if you look all the way on the left, we got 2019. At that time in 2019, there were only 2 project managers, Mr. Newman and myself. We had about 4 major capital projects in design, and we had 2 under construction. Now, as we move through 2020, 21, 22, we added 3 additional project managers. And that allowed us to get more projects in the pipeline to start off with construction, or excuse me, start off with design. And it allowed us to move smoothly into construction those projects that had completed design. And you can see here how in 2022, the number of projects in design doubled. We had 3 projects under construction. And then in 2021, much more design, a little bit more construction. 2022, 2023, you can really see the construction ramping up. And we've still been able to maintain the number of projects, major capital projects that are in design. So 2023 and 2024, as we move right on this graph here, you can see we have a very heavy workload right now of projects under design and then also in construction. Then if you continue on moving to the right here, 2025, 2026, we've got a very, very heavy construction load in 2025, starting to lighten in 2025 on design, and then 2026, the load gets even less. Council member Shade had asked about West Pawnee, and you can see here in 2024, it looks like we will have the capacity to start design on West Pawnee and continue that into 2025.
All right. Question, Councilman Shade.
Yep. So, Steve, thank you for that update. And Matt had sent me a email sort of outlining this, and this is sort of what my question was. So, if you look under the green section, which means the green is the design and the blue is the work in progress, right, Steve? So
under construction. Blue is under construction. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So in 2024, you'll notice that there is under about halfway down Fort Royal. That's a project in West Pawnee neighborhood, and then underneath that West Pawnee is West Pawnee Place, which is sort of tied in to Bamboo and Gilmore Streets, sort of where Councilmember, where you and my districts intersect at some point.
Right.
So my question for raising this is that we did a study as to what was needed for both of these projects. I'm highlighting those 2 for right now, Fort Royal and West Pawnee. And so we had an idea, we allocated money, and we identified, okay, this is the issue. This is what I think we need to do, or someone said what we need to do. And that pushed it to where we are now for it being on the books for 2024 for design. So the reason for bringing all this up, this is something that I've been dealing with since 2016, since I got on council. The issues, particularly with West Pawnee Place, had been ongoing, where Frank Newman would go out with a major pump and this thing was like the size of a car, if not bigger. And he would have to haul out to this family's property in West Pawnee Place and stick it out there to take care of the flood bombs that we were getting from rain or these storms that happened in 2016, 2017, et cetera, et cetera. So from 2000, this is 9 years in the making, or 8 years in the making to even get to the point of it being in the design phase. And listen, I respect what these guys are doing. I understand the manpower concerns and having enough bodies in stormwater department. But it just seems that there's got to be a little bit better of a mechanism or a process of moving these projects on. And that's why I wanted to bring this up to the committee level. And there's another project I don't think we talked about, Steve, that's over in Sandhurst, off of oh goodness, it's by Roses, by Champion Way and Winchester Road, that I'll see here as well. So I'm looking for answers to see what we can do to get this stuff going. I know we've got to process this stuff. I know you've got to go through the checkpoints on getting it done, but take this long to even get to the design phase and not projected until 2024, and then it's not going to hit the construction phase until 2026. That's a long doggone time for these folks to have to put up with this type of continuing issue, particularly in West Pawnee Place. This is something that was created when that area was developed in the 1980s, well before all of us were in city government, on council, or having any involvement with this whatsoever. The plans got approved, and in retrospect, like hindsight's 2020, obviously, it should not have gotten approved because the road is higher than the property, and there's this major flooding that takes place on this from time to time. So I'm looking for suggestions, looking for answers to how we can move these things up a little bit quicker. Maybe that we can't, but we certainly owe it to our community and our residents. You know, this is sort of the problem with it. If these things were small fixes, it goes into the small project queue, and we can knock these things out really quickly. Just show them what we did over on Downing Court in Charlestown Estates. We got that project done, similar time frame, dealing with Downing Court that happened with West Pawnee Place. But that project's done. That project's off the books. It was a small project, a small fix. West Pawnee Place and Fort Royal and over in Sandhurst are much bigger projects, cost a lot more. It gets us out of the small project category, and here we are with this process. So I've asked a lot of questions, and I appreciate what Matt and Steve have provided us, but we've got to have another way, maybe how to prioritize this or how to get this to the front of the class in a different format. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. Any other questions from committee members?
Mr. Chairman, if I may interrupt real quick, we didn't get a motion and a second on the brick arches item. If we could do that for H1.
Okay, thank you for that observation.
So moved.
Thank you. Thank you. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 I guess that discussion was so exciting, man, I forgot to carry the motion. Thank you, Mr. Clapper. Mr. Kirk, if we had more money, could some of what Mr. Councilman Shade spoke of could be put in the pipeline soon?
Yeah, those are all good points. These projects in well-established neighborhoods, some of the challenges that we have with those is property acquisition. I know in Fort Royal that very recently one of the PMs had gone out there and had spoken with some individuals regarding some property acquisition. And that can be challenging and also a lengthy process to go through. One of the other challenges I know that Matt and I have talked about is that we have been operating without a small project manager for the past 18 months. So in order to keep the small projects moving, that does take some focus of our capital project managers, the larger project managers. It does take their focus away from being able to focus on these larger projects like you've been explaining, Councilmember Shade, the Fort Royal and West Pawnee. Large capital projects need to be aggressively managed so that issues, any mistakes or challenges that arise in those projects don't compound into large dollar amounts. I can certainly have more discussions with Mr. Fountain. I can ask him to provide some more detail. But Mr. Chairman, to answer your question directly, more money is maybe helpful. One of the challenges that we do have is the number of project managers to push these projects forward, because they are often more challenging and more time consuming than we would all like them to be.
Okay. So we are short how many project managers?
So right now we are short one project manager.
Okay.
At least those that are those that we have positions for, and the project managers that we do have are all over capacity right now.
Yeah, well, I believe that. I think we all believe that.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for getting it done. I mean, it's still a lot on your plate that you're all pushing through. We appreciate it. Any input from committee members? Mr. Mayor.
I just want to commend Steve and Matt and the whole team, because what I see here is, if you look at the blue stacks there on the bottom, as you go through the last couple of years and even going into the next couple of years, the number of projects getting done each year is increasing, which involved a tremendous amount of work, not to mention a tremendous amount of money and grants, and one piece at a time, getting the permitting done. As Councilmember Appel will tell you, the lift we had to go through just to get the permit to clean the outfall behind Osaka, what would seem like a pretty easy job, was a multi-year effort. So, and yeah, I wish it could all be done tomorrow, but these guys have made incredible progress. And you look out now 26 and 27, and it's starting to go blank on the planning side, because they're really knocking out a lot of the known problem areas that we've had in the city. And we're going to be looking for some of those smaller things we can accomplish, I'm sure, as we get past some of these that are on the books right now. But if you think back that we didn't even have our own separate stormwater department, but till a few years ago, I think it's pretty remarkable progress, and I thank them for the great work they've been doing.
I agree with you, Mr. Mayor. Any input from any more councilmen? Thank you, Mr. Kirk. Item 3, resolution for the adoption of the FEMA approved 2019 Charleston Regional Hazard Mitigation Program. You gonna address that, Mr. Kirk?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I can address that very briefly here. So the city of Charleston needs to adopt the regional hazard mitigation plan every 5 years. The plan was last adopted in 2018. Adopting the regional plan is essential for the city to be able to maintain its CRS credit rating. And it also allows us to maintain our grant eligibility.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the committee?
Move for approval.
Properly moved in by Councilman Appel, seconded by Councilman Shahid. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. That brings us to the end of the agenda. Anything for the good of the order?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. I look forward to the pictures, Councilman Seacon.
I just
Tomorrow
made
night.
a note to myself to bring them and get Brittany lined them up, and they're cool. We'll bring them. Take a
All
few
right,
minutes and show.
All right. All right,
Thanks.
See you,